We are going to have another guest joining us in the studio, who is, the man is Saitabao Kanchory. He's an advocate of the High Court, and he'll be here to talk to us about the Azimio and the game plan that Azimio has or should have. Siti,
yes,
in
please.
the meantime, give us the day's proverb.
I will. We're still in the country of Angola. Don't despise the nut. One day it will become a palm tree.
Don't despise the nut. One day it will become a palm tree.
Yes.
Every nut is important.
Indeed.
Yes.
This one is from Angola. What's your interpretation of it, Ndu?
Small beginnings, isn't it? You can be seen as insignificant, but at some point, you could go through the process and become something that is revered by many.
So when they sang for waliokudharau siku moja watakusalimia kwa heshima, when you become a palm tree.
I mean, just think of nature and how it is what we see as a forest begins with just one.
Indeed.
Yes.
I think of the palm fruit, not the coconut, but I think of the palm fruit that makes palm oil and all of these other things. It's this size. But the tree is huge.
How big is it?
This size, the palm fruit that gives you palm oil. It's this size.
For real?
Yes. It's a red fruit. It's this size.
Huh?
Yeah, the fruit that from which you extract palm oil is that size.
You have to think of coconut because
You're thinking of coconut.
So
That's
do they look the same as coconut trees? Or is it the same tree?
It's not the same tree. It's a different kind of tree, but
So
they're
a
the
palm
same
tree
family.
and a coconut tree are different.
different.
And you look at them, can you tell
Palm
the difference?
fruit tree is even different from a palm tree, which is different from a coconut palm.
Okay.
Okay?
Let's just
All
say okay.
palms,
Okay.
but they're different. There's
All
palm
palms
fruit,
are not
there's
palms.
coconut. All palms are not palms.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Okay.
So that proverb, I mean,
So you think of that palm fruit.
if you look at the fruit on the floor of the farm, it's insignificant. But then when you look at what it could come out to be, that glorious palm tree, the significance of the palm fruit is seen in the tree.
In fact, if you want to give it political meaning, look at the Arab Spring situation and the stories around it.
Yep.
How that momentous, that all-encompassing, that all-enveloping mass of activities began. One
tweet.
One.
It's about small beginnings.
Yes. And what they can grow to become. And the significance that becoming then has. Yes. As they say, many great things begin with an idea. And now that idea is the nut. Or the equivalent of the nut.
And then it becomes a big thing.
This becomes a massive thing, yes.
All right. Ndu,
Yes.
please tell us that big story again. The game plan by the Azimio leader.
Raila's game plan is graduated, all right? And let's start off with what he said. He is plotting what has been said, he's plotting a gradual escalation of resistance against President William Ruto, which could ultimately snowball into a call for civil disobedience and mass action. This, even as he made fresh revelations into how his alleged 2022 poll victory was stolen. So, here's the plan. Number 1, nationwide rallies. Apart from Nairobi, meetings on electoral justice set for other towns. That doesn't work. Number 2, tax resistance. Rally supporters to shun punitive taxes. You may decide for yourself what punitive taxes are. Number 3, should that not work, product boycott. Ask supporters to shun enterprises associated with the ruling coalition leaders.
Okay.
So we will not buy your stuff.
Okay.
We will essentially finish you.
So he'll give a list and say,
These are the ones you should not buy.
just like we saw in 2017. Okay.
Okay. Number 4, if all of this does not work, we will rally the international community and say, excuse me, you must step in here because what's happening here is really contravening so many things at the same time. They will lobby intervention of foreign powers on independent poll audit. First of all, tell us, you bring in your international expertise and lean in on the influence that you have for them to open this thing and tell us exactly what happened. And finally, should all of this not work, whether in chronology or at the same time, mass action, last resort is to force the government to yield to the demands. And the demands are what? Open the server, get a poll audit, declare the real winner the winner.
Where?
And I'll end this with a quote that he said, the real results, this is now Azimio leader Raila Odinga, the real results were out by August 10th, 2022 in the morning, but they refused to announce the results because they knew there was a problem.
This new push and argument is based primarily on the alleged whistleblower and what the whistleblower has said. Whistleblower claiming that they work for the IEBC and there's a game that was played in the IEBC and the results were doctored by the other officers of the IEBC, and so what was announced was not the actual outcome of that election. Now, this game plan, I can see everything else. I can see, okay, just say you as a normal human being, you can choose what to buy and what not to buy. You can choose to buy this and not the other. I can also see you as a normal human being, you have a right to picket and all those things. The one I'm not getting is the taxes bit. Please repeat that. He says,
we are saying there's tax resistance. Rally supporters to shun punitive taxes.
What does shun punitive taxes mean?
What does shun mean? We will not pay.
Ignore.
So basically say, you are not going to pay taxes.
Yes.
All right.
No. Not you're not going to pay taxes. It's specific. Punitive.
Punitive ones.
See, I asked the question, which tax
is not punitive?
Yes. See, because now...
So the expectation here is that he's going to give a list of what we consider as punitive tax.
Well, one can only hope because, you see, depending on who is paying the tax, you may think this is a normal tax and it's easy to understand. Some may consider it punitive given their circumstances. So again, that clarity that you've just mentioned, one can only assume it will be given and say, this particular tax that you pay for fuel, this one is punitive.
So if he says VAT is punitive, you don't pay VAT.
Well, if you see, the thing is, you're not going to be forced not to pay, but the option has been given if you want to join the resistance.
All right, so how do you not pay VAT, for example, if you're buying fuel?
Might be a tad difficult.
These guys tell you, Mafuta ni 176.
You say,
not 176. You say,
I'm paying 120.
These now are the brass
tacks
that one has to deal with when you're talking about these things, because when you have something as compact and comprehensive as fuel, everything is in there. So the only option is not to what? Not to fuel you.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes,
now you fuel your
that's
car.
the only option.
You will walk or ride a bicycle.
Or if you want to complain about, say, unga, the only thing is not to eat ugali. Okay?
Eat cake.
Eat cake. Our guest has arrived in the studio. Saitabao Kanchory is an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, and he was the chief agent in the presidential election for the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition candidate. Saitabao, good morning.
Good morning, Eric. Good morning, listeners and viewers. Morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Thank you.
Now, let's start from the beginning. There's some new information that's coming from an alleged whistleblower who says that there were games that were played in the August 9th presidential election. Have you seen that information?
Well, of course, I've seen the information, Eric, and I want to tell the country that now they know the truth. That is the information that has been produced by the candidate, the Azimio candidate, Baba, is what reflects the will of the Kenyan people.
Okay.
Yes.
This whistleblower, do you know the identity of the whistleblower?
Well, the identity of the whistleblower is an IEBC insider. But he has, of course, for his own safety, his identity cannot be disclosed.
Do you know?
I do not want to confirm or deny whether I know his identity.
How have you verified that whatever this person is saying is true?
The information that has been given is verifiable in its own content. verifiability of the information lies in the information itself. Baba has explained how from that information you can see where the forms were generated. You can see the people who generated the forms. So the information itself is self-evident. And you've not even heard anybody disputing. The other side have not come out to dispute that these are actually the actual results, and they are the actual results. The question then, really, because we cannot be talking about the actual results 5 months down the line. For me, as a man of action and as a practical person, I would be saying and I would be asking, so what next? And I think that is what is important. We have crossed there's a lot of water under the bridge insofar as the results are concerned. Yes, I know that the results that Baba has now produced are the credible electoral results for the election, for the presidential election of 2022.
Saitabao, is it Baba who has produced the results, or is it this alleged whistleblower, or are they one and the same?
Baba is the one who has now come with the results, because the whistleblower cannot come out to say these are the results. So the results from the person who has brought them to the Kenyan public is, of course, now the Azimio side. And we are saying, if you want to dispute these results, show us, how is it possible that we can show you that this is the proper form for this polling station in Gatundu? And Baba has said, and I support him fully, that we need an audit of the IEBC systems. We need a proper interrogation. There are things that we like to scatter around as a country. In the last presidential election, the Supreme Court did this country an extremely serious disservice. The Supreme Court did a cosmetic scrutiny, and it glossed over matters. Even when IEBC refused to open the server, which it did, and there was a letter from Venezuela or wherever it was, where they were saying they cannot open the server for security reasons. The court accepted and even just said the explanation. Whatever IBC was saying, the court was willing to the court became an apologist for IBC and all the grave malpractices that even the court itself accepted they committed. It became an apologist.
Yeah, sure. Look, Saitabao, we know he who alleges proves, isn't it?
Yes.
And here we are saying that the server, there's a whistleblower and an IEBC insider who has said 1, 2, 3. And that's information that we're now giving to the public. Azimio is giving that information to the public. How does do we just pick it up and say, actually, you know what? Because they've said it, then it must be true. What is the recourse? And I'm not talking about this action plan, which we'll get into. What is the recourse? How do you then say, actually, you know what, folks, this is serious enough for it to be pushed to another level to find out if this is actually the thing? Because obviously you've already said whistleblower will not hear from because this person fears for their life, right? How beyond that then do you convince people that this is actually something worth looking into?
Now, thank you. That's a good question, though. And, yes, he who alleges proves. But we have said, we have these forms. We have the results. We have the people who sign these results and they are known on those forms. And that is the interrogation we are saying. We want to open up because this is not a matter, this country needs to get to a place where it actually settles these important issues without just running through matters. And always every 5 years, we come back to the same problem. Every 5 years, we keep coming back to the same mess. It is now for the other side. We have said we have the results for all these polling stations. We are willing to bring and compare them with the ones that they relied on. We are willing for the people who signed these results to be called in a public inquiry. Let the presiding officers, the returning officers from across this country, because they have not disappeared. They are not foreigners. They are still in Kenya. We have their names. Let them come and say which forms were the genuine forms. This is the conversation we need to have. This station is, you are esteemed for raising the bar in terms of the conversation. And this country is always trying to lower the bar in terms of real issues. So we need to get to a place where we say, what are the issues? Can we have them? Can we address them? We have the resources, we have the time to address important national issues. Let us not waste our time on sideshows as a country. We have a country to build and a nation to build. So we cannot, engage in, and that is why even when you saw my tweet, I will call anyone out who is not clear on where we are going. Whether it is the other side, or whether it's our side. Some of us are interested in this country moving forward. Yeah.
So you did tweet. You did say that you were looking for Raila Odinga to give a clear way. It would appear that today he's given a clear way.
Is it clear?
Is this what you wanted?
Well, he's making it a little more clearer, but some of us like clarity in everything. Raila Odinga is not Eric, he is not City, he is not Saitabao, he is not Ndu. Raila Odinga
is Raila
Odinga. Raila Odinga carries the hopes and aspirations of what I would estimate to be over 35 million Kenyans. In my own estimation, and I don't think I'm far from the truth.
Okay.
He carries the aspirations and the hopes of this nation. And therefore, when he says whatever he has to say, when he gives direction, that direction must be clear. Okay. When he takes a position, that position must be well-informed and well-grounded. And for some of us who are his supporters, it is, I don't know if Baba has a bigger supporter than me. It will be remembered that I put my life on the line to defend these results that, City and everybody else. Eric, one of the reasons I'm a bit annoyed is because 2 months to the election, I was shouting myself hoarse, telling everybody, including Baba, the elections are going to be stolen. 2 months to the election, 2 days to the election, I was shouting myself hoarse, saying the elections are being stolen. And after the election, I was left alone to defend it. So now 5 months down the line is when everybody is seeing the light of day, what I was trying to say. So that is part of the reason that I will not engage in things that are not clear. And I will not engage in, activities that are not, we have to have a clear end game and we have to have a clear ball game. What is the end game? What is the game plan? Where are we going? If Baba has a plan and he tells us, these things are good that he has said, resistance and all this, but he has to tell us how to do it. Because like I said, he is Baba, he is our father, and he's the one that this country, the majority of us, are looking up to. And when he says that we should not pay punitive taxes, he needs to tell us how to avoid paying these punitive taxes. Nobody wants to pay punitive taxes. So his team and his strategy team, if indeed there is one, he needs to tell us how they want us to do this.
I don't know why you're removing yourself from that team. Saitabao, Baba and the Azimio Council chose you to be the chief agent of the presidential candidates.
Yes.
Just 5 months ago.
Correct.
Okay?
Correct.
That means, in a matter of this election, you're one of his chief advisors. The dispute that Baba is raising is about the election. One of his chief advisors is talking about other advisors. Who are these other advisors if Saitabao Kanchory is not one of the advisors?
Eric, let me tell you, the reason that Baba chose me to be his chief agent and the reason that he put me in his presidential board is because Baba came to see from our interactions that many times I was the only person, possibly the only person in the room who will tell him the truth. That is why Baba said, okay, you do it. The only problem I have is that with time, my voice of reason was overruled
By
the other,
Board members.
better placed advisors. And that is why we are in this mess. So I am, you see, even as Baba is giving
were
us
you
direction.
reporting to the other advisors? Or
No,
were
I
you
was reporting to Baba.
Did
but
he overrule your advice?
he did not listen to me. If he listened to me, he would be in State House today. I can tell you for sure. If Baba listened to me, he will be in State House right now as we speak. And he knows that. Baba knows that. And that is why you will not hear Baba coming out to, he knows. We have had deep interactions that he knows. And he knows I was right on 99.9% of the things that I told him.
Okay.
Including now these results that
Did
he
these
said.
other advisors deny you access to Raila Odinga?
They misled.
Did they deny you the direct access that you had?
They limited access. They limited my access to the candidate.
Okay.
But that was okay. I didn't have a problem with that limitation because all I needed to do is to ensure that the candidate knew my position, which I always did. I never once kept quiet. And I'm writing a book, and that book is, I have written, I think the first person who needs to read that book is Baba, because I have dedicated 3 chapters about him. And I think he will cry when he reads that book.
It'll be a...
Because Baba needs to come back to being Baba. He needs to come back to being the Raila Odinga that really he is. I am saddened sometimes, Eric, I'm saddened when I see Baba now reducing himself to be a defender of a failed regime and a failed, system. Baba needs to choose, really, clearly. You cannot be Uhuru Kenyatta's defender and be the defender of the people of Kenya. So those are some of the things that we are saying. Some of us, and Baba is our Mandela. Baba is Kenya's Mandela. If Mandela was not as focused as he was, South Africa will still be under apartheid rule today. And therefore, some of us are trying to redirect Baba to go back to being the person that we know he's capable of being. Okay? And as Baba is checking these other fellows, some of us are going to check Baba.
So you're checking Baba?
Yes.
Let's take a break. It's 28 minutes to 9. Saitabao Kanchory, who was Raila Odinga's chief agent in the just concluded general election, is here with us in the studio. So which way forward for Azimio la Umoja candidate? Raila Odinga has said, well, we are heading this particular route, and Saitabao is saying we need proper clarity on what happens.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Chief agent of the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya
Former chief
coalition.
agent.
Former
chief agent.
Elisha.
Nilisha.
We're still talking about that election.
Amen.
The election is over.
But he's still talking about that election, and we're
Yes,
still
we
talking
are.
about the
But
results.
he was the chief agent for
the election.
For the former candidate.
Yes. Yes.
Sawa. Former chief agent for the former presidential candidate in the former election
Correct.
of 2022.
Correct.
Sawa. And you're saying you need clarity now from your leadership.
Yeah, what I'm not getting, and I think I speak for many Kenyans, is what is Baba's end game? Okay. So, and I want to tell you, Ken, and Baba knows. Yeah. Sorry, Eric, I want to tell you.
Yes.
I want to tell you, if Baba knows, and that's why he chose me as his chief agent. He knows that I am one man who is like the rock of Gibraltar. I cannot be moved. I cannot be moved by fear. I cannot be moved by money. I cannot be moved by nothing. Even he cannot move me. I am unmovable. Immovable. And he knows it. And you don't become a national chief agent for Raila Odinga if you're not someone who has very serious qualities. And he knows it. And when I say, for me, I want to hear Baba say, this is what the end game is. And in my view, he has only 2 options. Yeah? Or we have 2 options as Azimio. Because I'm still deeply in Azimio. Okay? And I will remain there. But I want to see our plans succeeding. And that's why I'm saying I'm talking the way I'm talking.
So you see 2 options.
Two options.
Right.
The first option is for Baba to tell us whether he has a path to power. Because some of us supported him so that he can get the reins of power so that he can take this country in the right direction.
Okay.
Okay? So if he needs to tell us, and if he tells us this is the way and this is the path to power, if it is clear, I'll be the first one to follow him.
Okay.
And I will be the first one to take whatever bullet needs to be taken. Okay? Before even he takes it himself. Number two, he needs to tell us whether his path or whether his plan is to check this government.
Okay.
And if that is the case,
So it can be one or the other.
it cannot be both.
It's either
And
I take over power from this government or I check
Or
this
I check
government.
it.
Okay.
Okay? And there is no third option. The third option now is those are the silly games I was talking about.
Does
if
it-
there is any other plan, those are silly plans.
Does the path to power include sharing power?
No.
No handshake.
No handshake, please. A handshake is, William Ruto has already offered Raila Odinga a handshake. He's talking about handshakes, and he's the one who has offered Raila Odinga a handshake in the form of leader of official opposition. This is William Ruto's version of the handshake with a clenched fist in his typical fashion. Because in his typical fashion, his handshake is always, it comes with a twist. So if Baba gets into another handshake, we are going to retire him very early, some of us.
Which of those two options?
Some of us will retire him very early.
Which of those two options is your preferred option?
I will participate in either. And as long as those two plans are effective. Because even if you want to check government, you have to have an effective plan. If you want to take over power, because that is your right also, and especially if you are saying it was taken from you fraudulently, it is your right to go for it. You know where I come from, do? If you take my cows, I will follow you.
Right.
And I will follow you until I get you. And when I get you, I will not negotiate with you.
Whether you're human or lion.
I will take the cows back by whatever means necessary. Okay? So Baba needs to be now clear in that regard. Some of us, we are not people of, perambulating. We like clarity. And if Baba wants to check this government, that is also a very serious job. And it is already a government that is crumbling and collapsing and failing. And it will continue to fail. So it requires an effective opposition to check it. In either of those two options, if you don't have a clear plan, you will be annihilated. You will be annihilated. William Ruto is not Uhuru Kenyatta. And he has told us as much.
Yeah.
William Ruto is not Mwai Kibaki. William Ruto is not Daniel Arap Moi. If you want to deal with William Ruto, you have to be these are people who are brutally efficient. And if you're not as brutally efficient and focused as they are, or better, you're wasting your time.
Saitabao, I hear you saying, but not saying, that this game plan, which we're seeing then,
Yes.
is not clear.
Of course it's not.
It is not clear.
It's not clear. And it's not efficient.
It's not efficient either.
Yeah.
So, you're saying if you're not going to be, don't get into the water.
Yes.
Now, for somebody who you've clearly said Raila Odinga listens to, why wouldn't he listen to you if you've offered this sentiment to him?
I have offered. But by the time I come out, to talk about anything publicly, I have had a discussion with my principal, and a man I love and respect, almost to a fault. I always share with him some of these things, some of these, ideas and concerns, and so by the time I come out, I have exhausted that angle. Baba has one weakness, and it is the reason we are in this mess. Baba is very dismissive, and even though he listens to me, and somehow our relationship is very interesting because it's a father-son relationship, and he never dismisses me outrightly. He can dismiss other people, he can tell you, he can dismiss you if he doesn't like your idea, but he can tell you off. But me, he has never told me off. But he will not listen. He will not. He will just okay, and then he will manage me. Instead of now me managing him, he will manage me. So that he tells me it's okay. Let's. So and at the end of the day, that's why we got into this mess. If Baba did not manage me, if he allowed me to manage him, he would be in State House.
Let me ask you this question. When you look at someone, the person of Raila Odinga, what he entails, and you look at his history, you see, the pronouncements that we are now discussing reminds me of a time back around 2005 when President Kibaki was the president, and an issue arose about two Armenians known as the Atur brothers.
Mamlukis.
Yes, and Raila pronounced certain things, and the dust it raised. Oh, do you know this? Oh, what about this? Oh, essentially, it was not believed.
Earlier.
Yes, it wasn't. A commission was then later to be set, the Kiruki Commission. And the Kiruki Commission had its say. A report was presented to the president. Now, from something that was lambasted, just hearsay, this guy's just talking, again, if I may use a common phrase now, hot air, it became something, a commission was formed to actually investigate.
Yes.
And a report was actually given. Now, what am I saying?
And it was confirmed that Baba was right.
I think you've gotten where I'm going with this. There are times, for someone who has been involved in politics for a long time, they may not necessarily say everything they want to say or let it be known that this is what they are planning. But it doesn't mean that they do not know what they are doing, neither do they know the direction in which they are heading. That's point number one. Point number two, these handshakes, views differ on these matters in this country. But if I look at, again, the history of this country, starting from independence, Kanu Kadu, the reason why, or one of the reasons why we're where we are today as a country was we've had a continuum of handshakes where political people say, okay, fine, this is the position we took, but let's just do a little about turn and move along in this direction. We avert situations that ordinarily in other countries would have led to some serious conflict because of this idea of the handshake. Now, let me ask the question then.
Ask.
Do you think that the very process of what we call the handshake in whatever form is necessarily undesirable?
Very good question. And City, you're a very analytical man. And I don't think, your biodata is very correct about you. It's very correct. It is not. There's no exaggeration there. It's a good question. But I think there's nothing wrong with a handshake. There's nothing wrong with people working together. There's nothing wrong with cooperation in politics. The problem is usually what is the objective of that cooperation. Okay. Is it in the interest of the nation? Is it in the interest of the public? Or is it in other pedantic, and parochial interests? So the reason that this country has not moved forward is that ever since the first handshake, which was actually the handshake between Kanu and Kadu, it was not about the interest of the nation. Jomo Kenyatta was basically just trying to obliterate opposition. And that is why he ended up with a despotic regime, because there was no opposition. So that handshake failed us. The second handshake, which basically came in the form of cooperation between President Moi and Raila Odinga in 97, 98 or thereabout, the cooperation, New Kanu and so on. That was equally, in my view, that handshake nearly worked, because that is a handshake that detonated the Kanu juggernaut from within, and it gave us, 2002. The only election that I think was worth Kenyans' time. After that, we had 2007, which again was another disaster. The Grand Coalition government, of course, was a forced handshake under very unfortunate circumstances. So I think if we are to go, and of course the last one was a complete disaster. It is a handshake that served no purpose, in my view, other than to diminish the standing of Raila Odinga. And this handshake with Uhuru Kenyatta is, if you analyze the whole thing, if you are critical like City, you will find that it was the weakest link in the whole Azimio setup. It is a handshake. The handshake stifled Raila Odinga, and it allowed the other side a lot of space on critical issues. Raila Odinga, because of the handshake, could not criticize Uhuru Kenyatta, even though Uhuru Kenyatta's government was clearly failing. High food prices, high cost of living, fuel shortages, all those things. The other side was given a feast day, because of the handshake. Some of us, and I want to tell you, and I know Baba knows that, I hope he hears this, because he knows. Some of us put our foot down and told him, it is time to disengage. Yes, Uhuru Kenyatta is your friend, is your brother, but you have to criticize the failings of his government. Because any, getting into bed with an unpopular regime so close to an election was always going to be costly. It did not cost us the election, but it was an unnecessary encumbrance. And at the end of the day, the only justification that could have been given for the handshake was if Uhuru Kenyatta's government could have been a guarantor to a credible electoral process as a sitting government, which it failed to do. So what did it serve us? It was a complete mess, a complete failure. And that is why I personally want to see Baba right now, liberate himself from the shackles and the yoke of Uhuru Kenyatta, because he continues to be a burden and a yoke that is unnecessary. If you are to take Kenyans forward and dealing with people like this, the people who are in power right now, you cannot afford to carry Uhuru Kenyatta on your back. You cannot.
So Raila has said, one, he doesn't recognize William Ruto's presidency. He doesn't recognize any officers who have been appointed by William Ruto. That I think starts the journey towards what you're saying as option one of a route to power. If you look at what has been reported today in the nation about Raila's supposed game plan, which talks about this demonstration, Sunday some demonstration, then he'll call for a boycott of some taxes, then he'll call for boycott of goods, then he'll call for engaging the international community. It doesn't seem like he's going for your option two, which is checking this government. First of all, he doesn't recognize this government. So it can only be option one, which is going for this government. Now tell me, what would be the way of changing this government if not overthrowing the constitution?
The people are supreme, even more supreme than the constitution. Eric. The people of Kenya are more supreme than that document we call the constitution, which we are the ones who brought to ourselves. Okay? Article 1 of the Constitution of Kenya, which, as you know, I have, that is a document that I was involved in one way or another in bringing it or for it where it came. Not drafting. I opposed it with William Ruto. I worked very closely with William Ruto to oppose that document. By the way, William Ruto is a personal friend.
You were involved in writing the constitution?
No. I was yes. I actually, there are certain like the land chapter. I amended certain articles of the land chapter which will have affected the Ma community.
Okay, let's go back to the issue.
But
the people
more are supreme,
right?
Than the documents,
even over the constitution.
Right.
Article 1 of the constitution gives the people of Kenya the sovereign power to rule themselves through two means: directly or through their democratically elected representatives.
Okay.
That is the constitution of Kenya.
Okay.
If I was Raila Odinga, I would say now we have option. We are going back to allow the people of Kenya to go back to rule themselves directly. Direct rule.
How does that work?
I can tell him if he asks me.
I'm asking you, how does it work? How does ruling yourself directly work? What does it mean?
I don't want to get into that now because that will be putting the cat out of the... But it is in the constitution. It is in the constitution that there are two ways that the people can exercise their sovereignty: directly or through or through elected representatives.
I'm asking for civic education here.
I think that
option one
yes.
of ruling yourself directly, what does that mean?
The people can overthrow they're democratically elected, or so the things that are called democratically, they can overthrow. The Constitution gives them the power to do that. And when they do that,
I'm going to ask you what overthrow means here.
let me explain this. Let me explain this. And in countries where people have taken now decided we are going to start afresh. You see, IBC is an institution that is created by the Constitution.
Yeah.
The Supreme Court is an institution that is created by the Supreme Court.
Yep.
If the people of Kenya feel that these institutions have not served them, and they decide now we are going to dismantle.
We are going to be the judiciary.
We are going to dismantle
the existing judiciary.
No, we are going to reconstitute. Okay, you dismantle and reconstitute. Even when you do, if you want to build another, if you destroy your home, you have to build another one because you can't stay outside. Yeah, and a constitution, is just a document. It is the concept. The concept itself does not have to be written. As you know, some countries don't have written constitutions. Okay, and that is and there is, if some of us could advise, there are numerous ways within the law that Raila Odinga can exercise option 1. Okay, but that is a matter for closed door discussions. Okay, you don't of course give civic education on your strategies. So, but I'm saying that is not a strategy at the moment but yes, to answer you, I hope I've answered your question. That
well, you haven't, but let's move on.
The people are supreme to the Constitution.
Sawa.
Yeah.
Taking all things into consideration, Saitabao, do you think that Raila Odinga will be more effective as a leader of opposition?
Taking what? Everything.
Taking all things into
consideration. I think I don't think we are in a very convoluted situation as a country. We have Raila Odinga, who has been in opposition most of his life, but he seems now not to have a plan on how to run an opposition. And we have William Ruto, who has been in government most of his life, but he also seems not to know how to run a government. That is the situation we are faced in. It is a parody and a paradox. But I don't think right now Baba is focused on being an effective opposition. And that's why I said he has to decide. I will support him if he has a plan to regain his stolen victory. But we have to have a very clear plan. And we cannot be between the two plans. We cannot be between the two plans. And the other reason I feel that Baba may not if Baba is to succeed, he needs to reconstitute his team. Because you cannot go into a new strategy with a team that failed you.
Who needs to go?
There are people who must go.
Who?
I don't want to mention names here because I am known for name calling.
What do they do? What do they do?
They mislead Baba, and they also betray him, and they tell all his secrets and his strategies to the opponent. And so, like for example, when Baba called some of us and he told us about the whistleblower and the information that that is now out, we had that information was not supposed to be public until a certain point. But by the time in a few matter of days and weeks, it appeared the information was already almost viral. It just tells you Baba's inner circle is leaking like a broken pipe. And if you are to deal, William Ruto, the current president, I'm saying current because I'm hoping that Baba still has a plan. He said, "Hawa watu nitawapanga wa Shanghai." I take that very seriously. That kupanga wa Shanghai includes even the people you're talking to being pangwad and pangaing you. When Baba says Sunday rallies, who tells him that Sunday rallies, what will Sunday rallies accomplish in this country?
What do you want, a Monday?
It has to be a Monday. It has to be a daily thing. If you want the demonstrations, say Monday to Monday. What is Sunday going to achieve? It's in effect, it's not going to take us anywhere. And those are the advisors that I'm telling you are telling Baba because they are taking instructions from the other side. That's how I'm BIA Sunday.
Oh, so they're double agents.
Yeah, of course.
Saitabao Kanchory is a former chief agent for the former presidential candidate in the 2022 general election. And he's been here saying, well, we need some clear direction from our leader. And we hope that we'll get that clear direction then from your leader.